How can we transcend our preconceptions and our projections, transcend the whole world of mind and thought, and instead see truth in a direct and unmediated way? That's what we're going to explore through the lens of Parshat Pinchas. Before we begin, if you enjoy and appreciate this video, please give a like, leave a comment if you can, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell to get notified when we go live on YouTube. And now on with the teaching. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu. So there's a Hasidic story of Rabbi Yitzchak of Vorki that once he was traveling with his teacher, Rabbi David of Lelov, and they came to a town that was far away from where they lived. And suddenly a woman in the square seemed to get enraged when she saw Rabbi David, and she jumped on him and started beating him. And they were completely shocked. They didn't know what to do. Some people helped to take her off, get the rabbi free from this woman who was beating him. And once she was pulled off him, she took a look at him again and she said, "Oh my God." And she started crying and she started apologizing. She said, "I'm so sorry. I mistook you for my husband that left me several years ago." And Rabbi David was very calm. He didn't get upset. He said, "No problem. You don't have to worry because you really weren't angry at me. You were angry at your husband." So why is this story important? It's not really a story just about mistaking a person for someone else. It's a story about how preconceptions can be projected onto the world around us and then create conflicts, even violent conflicts. And the only basis for the conflict is something that's going on in our own minds. So the message here is, just because our mind is telling us something, just because our mind is seeing something as being the case, we have to develop the inner habit of questioning our own thinking. Like the bumper sticker says, "Don't believe everything you think." Just because I perceive something as the case in my mind doesn't at all necessarily mean that it's true. We can see this obviously in the political realm, where different political points of view are supported by a whole network, a whole tapestry of narratives, much of which might be very true. There could be two completely opposing narratives, all composed of facts, but the facts are selected in order to create a certain point of view, a certain narrative structure, which then becomes the basis for demonizing the other, as opposed to having relationship, as opposed to having conversation, as opposed to growing beyond whatever our preconception is into some higher integrative point of view that allows us to go somewhere, as opposed to just killing each other. And it's very tricky because, on the other hand, there are situations that require immediate response. You can't sit and question and try to pick it apart and what are my preconceptions? No, there are certain things you have to act on immediately. If you get shot with an arrow, right? The famous parable, if you get shot with an arrow, you don't start questioning who made the arrow, where did it come from? Or nowadays we might say, what was the intention of the person who shot the arrow? Were they trying to kill me because of because I'm Jewish, or because of something like that? Those are important questions, but in the moment you get shot with the arrow, the thing to attend to is the wound, right? You have to remove the arrow. Maybe you probably have to go to the emergency room. So there are different levels of situation. If you see a fire, it doesn't make sense to sit back and think about, maybe this fire won't burn me. Maybe that's just a preconception, right? And that you want to get out of the way of the fire. You want to put the fire out and so on. But at some point, we come to a moment where we are dealing with what was the intention of the person who shot the arrow. Or maybe the arrow wasn't shot at me at all. Maybe someone was just practicing archery and it accidentally flew my way. So this ability to see our own preconceptions objectively, to be able to live in a space that's above the thinking mind. We have that capacity. Our awareness is completely able to do that. But in order to do that, we have to be willing to question our own preconceptions. But this can be challenging. Why? Well, many reasons, but one reason is that when we hold certain preconceptions, those preconceptions can make us feel like we're part of a group or part of a tribe that hold those same preconceptions. You have a certain view of reality, and that allows you to feel part of a group, and you like feeling part of the group. It makes you feel connected. It makes you feel included. It makes you feel affirmed, which are all things that the ego craves. And so that's the unconscious reason why we may resist questioning our own narratives. And also, because of that, being in a state of questioning your own assumptions and questioning the narratives perhaps of the group that you are part of can be really exhausting, and it can even be dangerous. And so we have an example of that in the Sephardic Haftorah for Parshat Pinchas. And in it, Elijah finds himself in this state of having to question. It says, Vatishlach Izavel malach el Eliyahu. Jezebel sent a messenger to Elijah. So in this Haftorah, Jezebel vowed to have Elijah killed for questioning the cult of Baal that the Israelites had adopted. Despondent, he left the world of people and went out into the wilderness to die. But then an angel came to him, gave him food and drink, and commanded him, "Get up and eat." He ate and drank a little, and then lay back down again to die. Then the angel gave him some more food. "You will need this for your journey ahead." Then he seems to manifest superpowers from the second meal. He gets up and walks for 40 days and 40 nights. Eventually he comes to a dark cave, and here he is shown a powerful vision of the natural world. Great winds, earthquakes, and fires. He looks for God in each of these phenomena, but he cannot find the divine in any of these. Where does he find it? Kol demama daka, a still small voice. In other words, he finds the divine within the stillness within which the winds and the earthquakes and the fires arise. And this is the deeper reason to know that we don't know. It's not just about finding the truth externally, but there's a truth that we find internally when we let go of our attachment to the mind. When we think we know, we identify with our beliefs. We separate into camps, shooting arrows, making storms and earthquakes of human drama. But in the knowing that we don't know yet, we open not only to finding out the external truth, we open to the truth of our own being, the kol demama daka, the stillness that we are beneath our thoughts and feelings. But how do we do it? How can we transcend our biases? Paradoxically, you do it by admitting that you have a bias, because the admission objectifies it, which is the beginning of disidentification. The bias is still there, but you are no longer manipulated by it. You are above it, beyond it, the one who sees it, the kol demama daka, the small but powerful voice of stillness, rather than the loud voice of outrage and drama. So, when there is an arrow stuck in your body, attend to it without question. But when the thoughts begin about who shot the arrow, be the openness, be the stillness, be the perception of your own bias. This is the beginning of wisdom, the symbol for which is the letter Reish. Shalom. I hope you've enjoyed this Torah of Awakening. If you'd like to go deeper with the letter Reish, you can do the guided meditation for the letter Reish. I'll link it in the description box. And if you've enjoyed, you can support by just giving this video a like, subscribing to the channel, and leave a comment if you can. I'd love to hear from you. And click the bell to get notified when we go live. We do live meditation and learning 5 days a week. And when you're ready to go even deeper, head on over to TorahofAwakening.com. We've got classes for children and adults, as well as a membership where we gather together on Zoom. Until next time, all blessings.